Are we each going to take 10 minutes?
Yes.
Or less?
10 minutes is okay. Okay.
Can we take off our masks while speaking?
Yes. Okay. You can go there if you want also, if you feel.
Okay. But here we're looking at the slides.
Okay. Yeah, right. I forgot about the slide. Loro rimangono seduti qua perché ovviamente hanno le slide qua davanti.
Absolutely. You stay here, guys.
Is it working right now? Okay, it's working.
All the session.
Should I close it?
Quindi dovremmo esserci, no? Possiamo... So, guys, can we have a seat? Because I think we can start the closing plenary for the adoption of the document. Thank you. All right, it has been quite an intensive program. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you're satisfied of the outcome. Now we are gathered together because we need to approve and adopt the document. As you know, this evening we're going to approve directly the key messages that each table has produced, and we will discuss later how to manage for the background material, the longer document. This will be discussed later. We have some idea to give you a bit more time, but it's not important at the moment. Before calling the rapporteurs on the stage, I need to thank all the organizers because this was an amazing job. I hope you remember that this was the first world-class event, physical event after the COVID or during the COVID, so it was particularly difficult to carry on. And I appreciated your patience and your participation and the work done by all the organizers. And the organization was quite a large structure, and let me thank Federico Fricano on behalf of all the teams that have been working for the job done. And I don't try even to nominate one by one the people because, to be honest, I don't know all the names, but there were really many people, and Federico and some of the co-workers did an amazing job. On top of that, I would like to thank, heartfully, the co-chairs that have somehow driven, conducted, or helped you during the works, and the names, the first names, Nisri and Tina for the Youth Driving Ambition, Ernst and Kumi for the Sustainable Recovery Table, Nathan and Jane for the non-state actors engagement, Sofia and Adriana for the climate conscious society. So, needless to say, without all these people, the organization, the management teams, and the co-chairs would have been impossible to accomplish the results you're going to present now. Now we will call on the stage the rapporteurs one by one. We start with table number 1, and the rapporteur for table number 1, Youth Driving Ambition, is Martin Rabia from Argentina. And I give you the stage, please. We have about 10 minutes, and then we will ask finally whether you agree, there are comments, and you to officially approve at least the key messages. For the background document, we'll talk later. Go ahead, please.
The presentation is up?
Microphone.
Okay, it's working now. Okay, good evening, colleagues. Let me check out this. So, well, my name is Martin. I will be reporting on behalf of the Working Group 1, Youth Driving Ambition. So, I'm going to run you through the 3 main paragraphs that we have in our group. So, first of all, what we did is noticing that in the zero draft and the discussions that we had yesterday, there are 3 common issues. One is meaningful participation of youth, then is capacity building, and funding. So another common thing that we included today is calling for the urgent inclusion of these topics. So as you can see in the 3 paragraphs, we added the word urgent. And another change that we included is instead of having a softer language like calling countries to improve things, is requesting countries to do it. So that we added this urgency related language. So starting first with meaningful participation. Here we are requesting countries and also other institutions, because maybe international organizations and other forums can help youth to be part of the discussions. And then another important aspect here is that we included the language of decision-making on processes with implications on climate change. This means that we are not going to participate only on the UNFCCC or other climate-related forums, but maybe other forums that may have implications on climate. This is the case, for example, of the World Trade Organization or the IMF that are expanding their operations into climate. And we think at the Work Group 1 that we need to start having a say in that process as well. And then talking more to the national and local sphere, we included the climate policy planning and all the stages involved in that process. That this is design, implementation, evaluation. Because just to remind you, in our group we have the multilateral, the national and local. So yeah, we wanted to reflect these 2 elements. And then another component that we included today is the enabling environment aspect. And what do we mean with this? What we mean is that when youth groups or engage with senior delegates, there is a huge knowledge gap between them. So what we mean with this is that we need some sort of way to bring them together and have a common language and have a common understanding. So the second point, capacity building. Here we recognize that countries are already investing on capacity building for youth, but what we are requesting is to urgently scale this up, not only in terms of finance, but also in terms of administrative and logistical support. And not only to help youth drive ambition, but also to implement concrete activities on the ground. And this speaks more to the local level, for example. And then, the last point is about funding. Here, we try to not duplicate what our colleagues at the Sustainable Recovery Group is doing, so we try to turn this into how funding can increase youth driving ambition. So in this case, we also are requesting countries and international organizations and other financial institutions to make accessible funds to help youth participation in decision-making processes. Again, with this idea of not only the UNFCCC processes, but also other forums that are starting to address climate change. And of course, at all levels, not only the multilateral, but also at the national and local levels. Because an important component in our group that was that many communities at the local level don't usually have the visibility that is necessary to make a change in higher levels of governance. So for us, this was substantial. So this is everything on our side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. This was quite a good job. And I'm happy to give the floor now to Ernst Gibson from the Fiji Island for the presentation of Sustainable Recovery Key Messages.
Thank you very much. Nisa Molivnaka, everybody. My name is Ernest, and I had the absolute pleasure of co-chairing. Sorry, I've been in a state of mask wearing for the last 8 months, so it's a new experience for me. I have had the absolute pleasure of working with more than 80 young people in Abora Ring 2, and it's been a fantastic experience. But now I have the heavy task of having to report back on the nail-biting, hair-pulling, comma-moving, semicolon-using drafting session that took place about half an hour ago. So I'm going to try my best to stick to the wording that was used by the group, recognizing the enormous effort that went into producing that. So we had 5 subtopics under the sustainable recovery theme. The first one was really around energy transition. and green jobs. So we call for an urgent, holistic, diversified, and inclusive energy transition by 2030, no later. We call for this to ensure that it prioritizes energy efficiency and sustainable energy, keeping to the 1.5 goal, financing for capacity building, research and technology sharing to ensure a transition with decent jobs. The recognition here is that the transition is going to take place, but we need to make sure that it does so in a way that doesn't leave anybody behind. And does so by providing adequate support for affected and vulnerable communities. Our second point, we demand the strengthening of diverse means of implementation to be made immediately available for locally owned adaptation, resilience, and loss and damage measures to ensure proper and continuous solutions reach the most vulnerable groups and regions. The point here was really only on adaptation and resilience, but as we discussed, we realized the importance to continue to underscore the importance of loss and damage and ensure that that was heavily featured in the document that we produced. Thirdly, we demand nature-based solutions be prioritized as a key strategy to address the climate crisis that also emphasizes the need for a socially just and equitable society, especially by recognizing, representing, respecting, and protecting local and indigenous peoples' rights and place-based knowledge. Fourthly, we had 5 subtopics, so we have 4 points. We urge decision makers at all levels in public and private sectors to create a transparent and accountable climate finance system with robust regulation of carbon emissions, eradicating the climate investment trap in the most vulnerable communities, while ensuring equal opportunities for people of all genders, ages, and backgrounds, as well as eradicating the exploitation of women and child labor. A really key point here is around ensuring that it's one thing to say that there is climate finance, but it's an entirely different thing to ensure that it's made available to those that actually need it. Speaking as somebody from the Pacific, I've seen far too often climate finance get locked up in bureaucracy, and that's something that needs to stop. Not tomorrow, but last week. And lastly, we demand at COP26 the recognition of tourism's responsibility in meeting global climate targets and its vulnerabilities to the impacts of climate change, particularly for tourism-dependent countries, for example, the small island developing states. We call for the inclusion of all stakeholders, and this includes, but it isn't limited to, youth, women, indigenous communities, and other marginalized groups, in capacity building, in monitoring and evaluating, in investment and decision-making processes towards a resilient and blue and green tourism recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Ernst. This was really inspiring. We go now to the presentation of the third table, Non-State Actors Engagement by Reem Al-Safar from Iraq, and the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I am Reem Al-Safar, representative of Iraq, and today I will be the rapporteur for Non-State Actors Engagement, Working Group 3. Before I present our demands, I just wanted to make a brief overview of how we worked in our working group. We started off by doing the sessions, and our sessions were very, very lucrative and transformative in a way that we actually had an extra subtopic added by some of our delegates, which is fossil fuels, because we think that fossil fuels do affect the non-state actors' engagement in general, and that will be highlighted in our demands. So in general, we wanted to highlight how we wanted, at first, we had 7 main demands. We took 5 from that, and then we had to reduce that and combine some of them into 3 main key demands in order to be direct and adamant at what we want to convey in our message. So we call for supporting the participation of young entrepreneurs, artists, farmers, and athletes, because this encompasses all the different sectors and subtopics in our non-state actors engagement group, in particular from emerging economies and marginalized groups, as well as already existing non-state actors with ethical and sustainable practices in the sustainable development and adoption of climate change mitigation and adaptation solutions by facilitating access to public and private finance, as well as the development of critical infrastructure. We also want to call for public-private partnerships, that public parties and non-state parties and private parties should work together to facilitate the empowerment of non-state actors. We also demand non-party stakeholders, in particular the private sector, to align current and future operations and their supply chain with net zero emissions. Because only then can we truly progress and reach our goal of 1.5 degrees Celsius. The transition needs to start immediately and requires clear reporting of plans and achievement of milestones on at least an annual basis. We need to have transparency and we need the truth to be communicated to everybody so that we can really make a change and know what to do. We need to enhance environmental transparency and accountability of non-state actors by requesting robust and annual climate disclosures that include underlying source data. Ensure these disclosures and data sets are consolidated by a relevant entity. So if I were to give an example, the Paris Agreement was around 6 years ago. Since then, we have had some NDCs submitted, some updated, but even then, the research shows that we don't have enough to reach our goal by 2050 or 2030. So we need this process to be annual so that it's constantly updated, it's constantly being monitored and being, becoming better every single time. We need to abolish the fossil fuels industry, and it must begin rapidly and immediately with a total phase out by 2030. At the latest, that's the limit we want to put. We don't want to say 2050 or 2070 or 2075. It needs to be 2030 because that is our last chance. Just transition. It needs to be a secure and centralized just transition designed for and with workers, cooperatives, local and indigenous communities, and those most affected by the climate crisis and land displacement. Any non-state actors, including UN bodies, fashion, sports, art, entrepreneurships, agricultural entities, etc., must not accept any fossil fuel investment, lobbying activities, influence from this industry, especially in relation to international negotiations, because we're so tired. We're so tired of greenwashing and organizations telling us that they're climate friendly and they're for our cause, and in the end, that we find out that they have agreements with fossil fuel companies. Some of the main and major climate myths that still run today were created by fossil fuel companies like BP, who created the myth that climate change is the fault of our individual people. It's not our fault, it is the organization's fault. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reem. Thank you for this presentation. And we go to the last table, last but not least, Climate Conscious Society by Marinel Ubaldo from Philippine Islands, right? Stage is yours.
Okay, so hi everybody. I am Marina Lobaldo from the Philippines. I will be presenting our output and working group for the climate conscious society, and our thank you to our group mates, by the way, and our mentors and facilitators. We had a really rich discussion, and a lot of ideas were presented throughout the discussion. We had discussed areas on showcasing climate impacts and solutions, education, public awareness and mobilization, and media. And these are our key demands on each area. So first, we call on the Ministers of Education and Environment attending COP26 to pledge to support climate change education and youth empowerment in the following ways. One is showcasing impacts and solutions. Decision makers need to be held accountable in working with youth and communities to address climate change, recognizing and supporting vulnerable population, ensuring access to various resources such as health services, and amplifying diverse voices. Because I truly believe being at the front line of every other disaster coming from the Philippines, I do not need our leaders to go to the communities and say, do this and do that. Instead, we need our leaders to really support us on our initiatives already that are already in place in our communities, because we know the problems in our communities and we know the solutions in the communities. Our leaders should work hand in hand with the communities and not tell them what to do. They must support the creation of multi-stakeholder platforms and mechanisms for sharing climate information and solutions, and fostering participation in decision-making spaces. We have to make sure that our grassroots organizations, our communities know and understand what are the implications of climate change, because they know that there are already happening in the environment. They almost entirely rely on their livelihood in the environment, and they have this intimate relationship in the environment. They should know the science about climate change that is understandable in their level. And we should give that information to our grassroots communities, to our grassroots organizations. Next is education. We call on the governments to ensure comprehensive and universal climate change education and climate literacy for all, and adequate funding for it according to international timelines. The main objective is to empower people of all ages with the knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes to address climate change. We are so tired of telling that children do not know anything, because we, children, the youth, already know what is happening, and we are woke. We already know what is happening to our environment. Education should have a holistic approach, integrating indigenous and local knowledge, gender perspective, and promote changes in lifestyles, attitude, and behavior, ensuring climate neutrality and climate resilience of educational institutions. Key actions include integrating climate change learning into a curricula at all levels by introducing climate change elements into existing subjects, training policymakers, teachers, children, youth, and the private sector, and communities. Integrating climate change into education policies and education into climate change policies, including NDCs and the national adaptation plans. These are not impossible to make, because in the Philippines, we already did this. We have already integrated climate change in our education curricula. And if we have did this already in one of the communities and region, we can do this all throughout the world. Youth should have access to funding for youth-led projects and more access to paid internship exchanges and capacity-building activities. Because yes, we are climate activists, but we too have our needs. We too have to feed our families. We too have to eat, and we too have our own needs, and we too have our own needs. So we have to have the access for funding for our youth-led project, because we should not, we should stop like always saying, receiving thank yous for everything that we do. Next, public awareness and mobilization. We call on our government and other relevant actors to raise awareness on climate change adaptation and mitigation for each person in the world, emphasizing climate refugees through traditional media, as well as using campaigns, arts, sports, entertainment, community leaders, influencers, and social media. We need to empower every person in the world to be part of the climate knowledge and solutions through capacity building programs, focusing on advocacy and leadership, as well as to ensure that everyone can participate in decision-making processes. And last is the media. We have to train journalists and communicators to convey the urgency and implications of the climate crisis in a transparent, accessible, and conversational manner by simplifying scientific findings. This is really true because in the Philippines we lost so much lives because we did not know what is the simple term of a storm surge. So this is really important that we simplify terms so that people would understand what it means in their own context. Facilitating an understanding of policies and emphasizing the existence and feasibility of solutions, regulating advertising, defining and preventing greenwashing, highlighting climate inequalities, combating misinformation, and utilizing social media and traditional means of communication. Those are our key demands on our main areas. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marinelle, for this presentation. So we're now at the point that we have heard the different reports from the working groups, and I think now we should ask the participant to agree whether we adopt those key messages from the 4 tables. If there is any further comment, objection, or we can give this for approved, so that tomorrow we will start the pathway presenting the key messages to the to Prime Minister of UK and Italy and the President of the Republic and Alok Sharma, President of COP26, and then starting the way towards the COP26 work at the end of October. So can we consider this as approved? So I see no objection, so we consider the key messages as approved, and thank you very much for that. Now, guys, we'll do our best, and personally will do my best to forward this as much as possible ahead to the COP26. I want to tell you a bit more. I know that there is now a longer document. You started with the 31-page or 33-page, whatever, and you made your modification, your discussions. We are aware that due to the lack of time, we had to work in separate tables. So maybe there's some of you who would like to study a little bit more in detail and suggest some upgrade to the background material, to the longer document. So I thought that could have been good for you guys to keep the platform open till, let's say, October 25th. We will do this through the Ministry of Ecological Transition in collaboration with the MICO, so that the co-chairs, the guys that were helping you so far, they could receive your inputs for further reflection, thinking, and improving the document till a few days before the COP26. I mean, of course, this is something that you might appreciate because you can think a little bit deeper to the big content, and you can make a very updated and upgraded document by the end of October. Let's say 25th of October is a reasonable date because then we have approximately 1 week for the COP26. And of course, I did ask this to the co-chair, and I hope they forgive me, but I think they will be happy to help you in reading what the others did and upgrading, eventually proposing something. Of course, the key messages are approved. We don't think those are going to change, but I'm sure the background document can be updated and can be improved substantially by the end of the month. So if this is okay, and I thank you again the co-chair and the rapporteurs because they will volunteering in this respect. I'm sure we will get them a very good document at the very end. And now a few other issues for tomorrow. The protocol is very strict, as you imagine. So whoever you decide will be the rapporteur, maybe the same people here or others, I don't know, we would like to ask you to keep a little bit more synthetic, the presentation, just 5 minutes each. Tomorrow, we don't have the need to explain too much. Just give the key messages, and no matter whether you are or others of the collaborators, 5 minutes, very sharp, these are the key messages. And then, of course, those people will receive your document and, of course, the big documents before the COP26. So can I count on this collaboration 5 minutes sharp? Because the protocol is super sharp, and we are all kind of committed in keeping the time. So 5 minutes each, thank you. We'll follow more or less the same thing. Another 2 things extra before we say goodbye. First, I would like to call on the stage our German colleague, Joshua, who is a piano player because he wants to announce something nice for tonight. And then, wait a minute. And then we have a very serious issue. There is a commemoration of some activists that, as I understand them, missing, and there will be a few minutes for commemorating those friends and colleagues of yours. But before this, I would like Joshua to anticipate something about the program for tonight. Joshua, please. Yeah, you can come here. Joshua, here. Yeah, piano player.
Yeah, I was just feeling that we could make a little bit more out of the outcome declaration and include a little bit more of the youth around the world, and also the youth who aren't able to read like a 70-page outcome declaration. And that's the reason why I thought that we could arrange a little social media campaign, if you put it in that way. And the initial video would be that we will record a video at the Star Hotel Business Palace tonight with, I hope many people who will attend, and we will sing We Are the World together of Michael Jackson. And then we can communicate the outcome of this incredible event via a more accessible social media message, I'd say. So the organization stuff would be that we would meet at approximately 10 p.m. at the Star Hotel Business Palace, or like the earliest when we get back from the bus transfers, and then we just get together and try, and if it works out, it will be awesome, I guess, when there are like 180 or 200 different delegates just singing together We Are the World, because the message is unique and the message really gets the point of what we are doing here. And so that was my idea, and I hope many of you will join, and we will create an output that is even stronger than the outcome declaration, especially for the youth around the world who aren't in this process included.
Thank you, Joshua. That's good. See you later. Beautiful. So thank you, Joshua, for this opportunity. Now I would leave the floor to your friends and the other participants for this commemoration. And after this, for whoever wants to stay, today there were many questions still pending, and we had to interrupt. I'll stay here. If you want to continue the discussion, asking questions in one-to-one direction, I will be extremely happy to answer. But now I leave the floor to your friends and co-participants.
Is it on? Hi. Oh. Should I start? We live in an extractive system based on sacrifice zones, where you can be murdered for defending the land and the life. We cannot talk about climate justice and about driving ambition in climate action without addressing colonialism, capitalism, patriarchy, and in general, systems of oppression. Global Witness data shows that 4 defenders have been murdered every week since the signing of the Paris Agreement. Last year was the most lethal period of time for defenders of the earth that protect 80% of remaining biodiversity of the planet.
According to the Indigenous Resistance Against Carbon, Indigenous resistance has stopped or delayed greenhouse gas pollution equivalent to at least 1/4 of annual US and Canadian emissions. Despite of that, even climate change mitigation policies like REDD+ violate the local and Indigenous communities' rights.
Have you wondered why are the people who defend our present, our future, our Mother Earth, our Pachamama, our Gaia, a threat to the system? They go beyond seeking just an energetic transition to confront the most important challenge we have as humanity, because they represent a social, economic, and political resistance against the colonial system in which we still live.
Because they want to put in the center, because they want to put life in the center, not money and power. We don't like the slogan, give the voice to the voiceless, because they already have a very strong voice. It is just that you don't want to hear them.
To inaugurate this living memorial, we'll play an audio of Indigenous Futures, a network of Indigenous resistances in Latin America. It is time to hear what they tell us.
We honor the memory of all those who have been sowed in the earth. Their struggle is a seed that flourishes in our ways of living and in our territories. But our hearts are filled with rage and sadness every time our sisters and brothers who defend the earth are murdered. Indigenous peoples safeguard 80% of the remaining biodiversity on the planet. We are the front line for the future. But today, we live in a constant stage of emergency. The dispossession of our territories, the plundering of Mother Earth, the permanent ecocide and genocide, the nation states persecuting our diversity, the corporations financing our annihilation, the military and paramilitaries at war against our communities. As the climate crisis progresses, the murders of Earth defenders are on the rise. This fever has been raging in our territories for more than 500 years. But we do not participate in doomsday narratives that paralyze and kill hope. These seeds are the future. We invite you to name the indigenous peoples who defend the earth as living alternatives to the climate crisis. We call our environmentalism the defense of life and territory. We name it community management of water and energy, land autonomies, indigenous governments, rescue of linguistic diversity, recovering our identity, seeking memory and justice, migrating without borders, growing crops, returning to cyclical timing, honoring grandmothers' and grandfathers' knowledge, defending the future of the generations to come, practicing other ways of spirituality, organizing community festivities, continuing to exist. That is why hope is still alive. We are still alive, and the solidarity of the environmental youth warms our hearts. Sisters, brothers, and siblings, memory is not a storage unit where the past is kept. By remembering, we're planting the future. Memory brings us closer to the experience of the past. It warns us of what is coming in the future in order to act in the present. This memorial brings us together, intertwines pathways. Our ancestors are now part of your struggle to stop the climate and civilizational crisis, and you are part of our struggle on behalf of life. Climate justice and justice for the peoples. Justicia climática y justicia para los pueblos.
Now I will ask you to please have a minute of silence for the environmental defenders who have been killed from around the world. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. By now we will hear the words of Eric Terena, an indigenous person from Brazil.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Terena from Brazil, indigenous people from Brazil. Eu venho em nome... I speak in Portuguese. Eu venho em nome da juventude indígena do Brasil pedir o apoio de vocês. Hoje vivemos um ecocídio, o genocídio dos povos indígenas.
I come here in the name of the indigenous youth to say that we are suffering a genocide and ecocide.
Nossos territórios estão ameaçados por invasões, por projetos de leis que querem acabar com a nossa natureza.
Our lands are suffering from projects of bills that will sacrifice our lands.
Nossas crianças, nossas lideranças, nosso povo está sendo criminalizado por defender a natureza.
Our children, our leaders, our peoples, and our lands are suffering from the leadership.
Quero dizer que vocês precisam nos apoiar, porque não temos planeta B.
We are here and ask for your support, because without you, we will have no land.
E dizer que a luta pela natureza não é só dos povos indígenas, é de todos nós. E a luta pela Mãe Terra é a mãe de todas as lutas.
And the fight for the indigenous lands does not belong only to the indigenous. It belongs to all the planet and protecting Mother Earth.
Thank you very much.
From the Arctic to the Amazon, it is indigenous people who are on the front lines of the climate crisis. It is Indigenous women who carry climate chaos within our bodies. Whether it is assassination and physical violence, brutality in the global south, whether it is the disappearance of our women, girls, and two-spirit relatives in the global north, we are facing the direct impacts of development projects that live in our bodies. We are facing it when we are raped and violated and assaulted in disproportionate measures in close proximity to development projects in the north. We are facing it when we experience increases in disease and respiratory illnesses, reproductive illnesses that impact our fertility because of the contaminants and pollutants, because of proximity to development projects. And so we come here, myself as a representative of the Arctic and the global north, to compel each of you to additionally remind your representatives that standing in allyship with us means turning towards Indigenous knowledges, because we have the science, the data, and the frameworks that will carry us through to a new, just and sustainable future. We have Indigenous science that teaches us how to be in right relationship with the land. We have scientific data through our oral histories and our rigorous cultures that have millennia of history documented in our Indigenous ways. We have the frameworks that teach us deep reciprocity, that teach us love of our lands and waters, and that must be the guiding values of any climate solutions that come out of our events or COP26. And so I implore each of you to also remember that when our global leaders continue to endorse false solutions, when our global leaders look towards transition fuels, they are simultaneously endorsing the assassination of our Indigenous peoples and our relatives. They are simultaneously endorsing the rape and violation of Indigenous women now. And so as allies, I also recommend that you presence this as often as possible, knowing that we will not find any relief from climate chaos until we are able to heal our bodies, heal our lands, and heal our relationships. Chicken, we are so proud to stand with you, and we also want to, in a unified way, commend each of you for the ways that Indigenous rights has been protected in all of the documents that we've been drafting over the past 2 days. So we are proud to stand in allyship with you, and we continue to look towards a future where all of us can be safe, where we can be the best future ancestors possible. Chicken.
We will try to put the memorial in some place, so if you know like a name of an environmental defender that has been killed for your region, feel free to paste the name and on it. Thank you so much.
So guys, that was really touchy. It was very good to have this space at the end, because the document is approved, but what we learned today was amazing. Thank you, the participant and the activists, to tell us those stories. We need to think, we need to do more. In the meantime, I hope you've seen that in these 2 days we did our best to give you the floor, to give you the opportunity to decide to propose something. I hope you are happy with this. Also for us, it's the first time, so we did our best. And I hope this will be the first of a long series. Before giving you the floor again for questions, whatever they are, this morning I've learned a lot from your colleagues from different countries. I mean, sometimes even individual issues, but that were really amazingly important. I'd like to ask you something. We will forward those decisions, those deliberations to the COP26, and we repeatedly say the youth participation, young people will participate. I'm sure they will ask me, what is the definition of young? What is youth? Shall we agree on, I don't know, 1629 or 1835? There are different definitions, but that I think it could be a technicality that we will require to make clear. Just discuss over that. We don't need the answer now, but maybe in the rolling document, it would be nice to know what kind of range we use for the definition of youth. That makes easier the creation of little bodies or representative teams or so that we want to introduce into the decision-making process for the forthcoming years. Yes, of course, Ilya, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that sometimes we tend to put a lot of measurements on many things. And in our today's world, we define youth differently from how we defined it 100 years ago. And perhaps is going to be defined differently another 100 years later. So in my opinion, youth is hope, youth is endless optimism, and it is the possibility for a new world and a better future.
All right, okay, I like. But I can be considered young then. I
Yes,
buy it.
age is
I like
just a
it.
number.
No, okay, that's fine. But you know, later we will be asked to make a proposal. But I get the spirit for sure. I agree. You can be young at the age of 100. It depends on the spirit. You can be old at the age of 20 if you are just brainwashed. But maybe we better suggest something in due time. It's not urgent. But you know, I will pursue this discussion in the next days with.
I'll take that
with
to
the
your bureaucratic background.
Thank you. Guys, before we say goodbye and go free and you get some rest after the long days, is there anything you want to continue? You want to say before today's? Many people were raising their hands, but we could not continue. If there is something you want to comment on, you want to give suggestions for the future, I see one hand there. Well, okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. I was told another there. Okay, let's start with this. The lady with the blue pullover. Yeah.
Hi everyone. I'm Erika Tavares from Angola. And I was just questioning today, this afternoon, with fellow Africans, what was, like, if they were selected or if they knew about COP26 and how our governments also bringing youth ideas to COP26, because, for example, in Angola, this is something that doesn't really reach us, even if we're within the ecosystem of activism or even NGOs. And I was just questioning if this is something that happens to other countries worldwide, or if it's something that just happens in Africa because of the corruption and political problems that we have. And if so, like, how can we also reach countries such as my country and bring these ideas that usually are not passed on because of this difficulty to reach these places and decision-making processes.
Yeah. Honestly, it's a good point. I mean, to be honest, I don't have a straight answer for you. I mean, your question is serious. Maybe we should think a little bit. You know, even for us, it is the first time a thing like that is done.
No, I totally understand, and I think it's just a thing for us all to think about it. And even if it doesn't happen in COP26, in COP27 we could do better. And I think it's something that if we actually want to bring youth to make decisions, youth also needs to be part of COP, not just pre-COP events. Not saying this is not good, but there's room for improvement.
Sure. You know, one good thing could be that since you will have the opportunity to continue somehow digitally at least the discussion, and maybe, I mean, the dream would be to continue this at COP27, you know, COP forward, creating maybe a wallet of ideas how to improve the dialogue for the next COPs. Honestly, we did our best, having no background, you know, so we tried our best, and maybe since this is the first session, the first occasion, we can start from this to improve the next events. So why don't you talk to the others, write down some ideas just for the future, okay? That we can forward.
Oh, believe me, we already have, and I think the African youth had prepared a draft that we wanted to give you, so I think this is also the opportunity to
Today I spoke to many African representatives, and I was told something extremely important. starting from the language, the opportunity, you know, how to support activism, youth activism in countries where it's a bit difficult to go through the state. So I just got notes, but any suggestion is really welcome. You should send this to me directly, and I will put forward with the people in COP26, and maybe we should make a wider thinking. Right. Definitely we buy it, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's here now. Thank you.
I think red glasses, I could see the second. Guys, we take 35, 40 minutes because otherwise I will be killed. People, they have to come here, dismount everything and prepare for tomorrow. But short question, I try to be fast in the answer.
Okay, thank you very much for giving me the floor, and good evening, everyone. So my name is Joy. I'm one of the delegates from Nigeria. So I think talking about inclusion, I would like us to emphasize on the language barrier that so many people have in being part of this process. Because I think coming here, I was expecting to see maybe a translation stand somewhere or booth where people who can speak or understand English will be able to engage or participate in the process. And I was so disappointed that none of that was part of the process. So there are about more than 40% of people here who can't speak English. So I don't know how we could you can include their own suggestion into the whole process. And one other thing I would also like to ask or add to the what we have already is that how is this program or this summit different from any other program we've been having in the past? Like the COI we are having or we've been having, and the summit we had in New York 2 years ago. How is this process different? And to what extent are we going to be having this kind of event or program? When are you going to give us the pen to start writing our own decision? So, thank you.
All right. Look, concerning the language barrier, I heard this really many times today, and I think it's a crucial issue. I mean, of course, the kind of official documents, resolutions, finally, they are in English because this is for the international documents, it's like this, but I think we should enable everybody to participate actively. It could be done in many ways, including favoring language learning by digital platforms that can be supported, or providing different translation tools. Fine. I mean, this point is now well understood, and we should try to fix it. Yeah, concerning the decision process, yeah, I think there's a lot of work to do. I mean, maybe we start a story today. This will propagate in the future. We will improve this. I think your suggestions are welcome over the next even weeks. Just give us ideas and propose something that we can try to implement. We are totally open, believe me. I think we demonstrated here we want to be something different. So send us the ideas. We try to do our best to implement them. Okay. The problems are clear. Now there's this gentleman with a tie and another one there and there. Okay, we come this way.
Thank you. My name is Khalid. I'm from Ethiopia. First, I want to thank Italy and UK for making this first ever youth pre-COP a reality. I just wanted to ask, what's next? I mean, our documents will be presented to the ministerial pre-COP and it will be forwarded to the COP eventually. But how will the COP presidents take it up?
Okay.
Because it's been hard, it's been challenging to endorse external texts in COP meetings. How will, is it going to be sent to countries and they will endorse it, or what?
Yeah.
How will this affect the COP26 decision?
I think there's a clear problem of representativeness of the young generations. I think this appeared so clear in all your key statement. So I wonder whether this should be the way to start bottom-up the creation of a representative task force of young people for the future. So this is something we have to communicate. I will start tomorrow with Mr. Sharma for the COP26. And maybe this should become seriously a yearly appointment or somehow having some periodicity, leaving the digital platform open so that you can continue the discussion. Yeah, I think we have to do something in this direction. If you ask me now, I don't have all the necessary ideas, but the stimulus that I got from most of you is very clear, and I think we have to propose something. I promise, at the COP26, I will be very sharp about that. Promised. I will make it very clear. We should do something to make this sort of appointment, this sort of model growing and creating the generation of young representatives. Maybe defining what is young, as I said before, but in terms of age. But otherwise, I will feel myself very aged forever, but very young forever. But I will do this. You will follow this. We will keep the platform open also. Okay. They're telling me they want to dismount the hall, but I want to keep a few other questions. Guys, eventually I can stay in the night if you want, but I take note of everything. Now, I see 2 guys there. Yes, yes, yes. Another a red pullover there, another one, and 3 there. Then we have to stop. 8. You have 1 minute each. Can you be fast?
Good evening. My name is Finner. I'm from Iceland. I just wanted to build up on what's been said this morning and what has just been raised, the problem of bringing our suggestions to the world leaders who will be attending COP and who will, in the end, be taking the decisions that will affect our future lives. And I wanted to suggest that at the very top of our document, which has a lot of potential at the moment but isn't being realized entirely, I wanted to suggest that we put a statement at the top that we demand that each of our proposals will be brought up in the discussions at COP and brought up in the outcomes of COP. And that way we have something to sort of work towards or worked on afterwards. And we say, if they don't respect this, they haven't respected our demands.
You want a binding resolution. So the way it works is that the COP gets a lot of inputs from different environments, including now this young representatives. I will push this. Tomorrow we'll start talking with the guys, and then there will be a lot of work afterwards. And as usual, you get a sort of compromise among different instances. But what I've seen here hardly can be outside the conclusions. Now, the extent to which this will be strict or, just a suggestion, I cannot say now. But I promise this will be in, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
The red pullover, then there are 3 guys there, another one there, pink, and then it's finished. Guys, I'm sorry.
Hi. Thanks very much, and I'm really emotional about what you're saying about the support. And one thing that I just want to mention is that youth have been and are in the UNFCCC process through the youth constituency. It's one of the 9 constituencies. I want everyone to know about this because this is just an offer and an invitation to become part of that. We, as Yango, the youth constituency to the UNFCCC, we have a right to speak in the plenaries. We get invited. So all of you who come to COP, please join us. We're already a big network of 10,000 members, and we have a history of more than 10 years in the UNFCCC process.
Okay.
So I just want to say that and to recognize that and to please not sideline that again. We have been in this, this conference and we've tried to talk to people, and please consider this as well, to not have parallel structures, but work together.
Sure. Okay, thank you. That's a good point. Thank you very much.
Just
right
one,
there.
Sorry, just one final thing to add on.
1 minute, guys, please. The mask, because we can't hear. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, just one final point to add on to everything that Clara just mentioned. As Yango, we had 10 young people who did the selections to ensure that all of you guys are here today. 8 of the 10 are in the room, and I just want to recognize the immense amount of hard work that they've done for weeks, for sleepless nights, to ensure that they've tried to get the best people out of these 8,000 plus applications. So just
a warm round of applause to each of them that are here today.
Good. That's a good point. 5 minutes. Federica, don't push me. Give me 7 minutes, 8 minutes, and then we go. Guys, there were another 2 guys there, and the last one is right on my right-hand side. That's pink. Okay? I've seen another. This. Yeah. This is what I see. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Esmeralda from Belgium. I just wanted to highlight the fact that we had participants who were participating from online, sometimes in very difficult conditions because they don't have proper access to internet or because the time zone is very different from here. And I wanted to maybe propose that we offer them the space tomorrow to present our ideas to the ministers, like tomorrow morning have them on the screen talking on behalf of our groups. Yeah, and the working group for already some people supported that idea, so I just wanted to know if, like, technically it would be possible and who would be supporting this idea.
All right. Thank you. So we look forward to see. There's this girl with the pink shirt, and I think we quit.
Hello everyone. I'm Colette Levy-Brown from Botswana, and I wanted to talk about, everyone's talking about going to COP, and so I wanted to talk about the vaccine inequality that's going around in COP. So I'm from MAPA, from most affected people and areas. So it's really hard. So at the beginning, we heard that the UK government's going to offer vaccines to MAPA people who cannot access the vaccines to go to COP, but we haven't had anything from them. I signed up for the program, but I just got an email saying that they're gonna give information to third party, and we are still waiting on the promise the UK government made on giving us the vaccines to attend COP. So COP26 cannot be inclusive if most affected people are not going to attend it. So we need to attend it. And also, you all see, everyone's seeing this flag. So obviously everyone's looking for their country flag. I'm from Botswana, and I was going around and looking for my country flag. And unfortunately, I saw my flag that it's not the country flag. It's not my country flag. It's totally different from my country flag. So that's pretty sad. I didn't see any flag that's from the global north. It's not put properly. I mean, it's different. So it's only flags from the global south, most affected. So that's pretty sad. Why is my flag different from our country flag? Okay, look. I apologize for that, okay? We will do better next time. I can only say this, I'm sorry. We will do better. I apologize for that. I accept this apologies. All right? Boys and girls, thank you. We'll continue eventually on a one-to-one basis. I think we accomplished a good stuff today. We have the key messages. This is just the beginning of the trip. So I hope we can give you good responses after the COP26. Thank you, guys. See you tomorrow.
Just 1 second, please stay 1 second more. I have some housekeeping announcements as usual to provide. First of all, tomorrow the buses from the hotel will leave at 7 o'clock. There are very strict protocol and security for tomorrow because the Prime Minister will be here, so you are kindly requested to be here very early because you will have to enter this room at 9:45, okay, and need to be seated by 10. So please take the bus earlier. Those who are leaving tomorrow for their country, they're coming back, they will bring your bag with you if your flight is in the afternoon. You will leave to the airport from here. Those who are leaving in the morning, they will be brought to the airport from the hotel. Tonight, the dinner will be as yesterday night in plenary. Buses will bring you back to the hotel at 9:30. One more thing. Tomorrow night, for those who are staying, there is a concert that is being organized in order to celebrate the end of the Youth4Climate, at least for this year. The concert, buses for the concert will leave at 8 o'clock in the evening from these premises, and I ask whether it's possible to put on the screen the link to which you should register if you want to go to the concert. If we are able to do so, yes. Take note of this link. If you want to participate to this conference, it is all for music, please register to this link, and buses will be available at 8 in the evening from these premises. And with that, I conclude. Thank you very much.
Hello everybody. For those who are interested, there will be a picture taking. You can come to the stage, every one of us, and then we'll be taking photo.
Before we leave, baby, I got something to say. Hey, uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Hey, uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. I said uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. I said uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Come on, dance, jump on it.